The first speaker is going to be Jeanette Barth. And Jeanette maybe could stand up for a second. She's right there. Jeanette is Managing Director and Economist at the Pepacton Institute, a research and consulting organization. For over 35 years, Dr. Barth has conducted economic analysis and estimated regional and local economic impacts in the United States and the United Kingdom. Dr. Barth was retained to estimate economic impacts of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Her former positions include Chief Economist of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Authority and Consultant Chase Econometrics and Interactive Data Corporation. Dr. Barth has lectured, written, and testified extensively on the economic impacts of shale gas development. She authored a peer-reviewed article on this subject in the journal New Solutions, and she is also one of the co-authors of the energy policy article examining the feasibility of converting New York State's all-purpose energy infrastructure to one using wind, water, and sunlight.
Can everybody hear me? No? Okay, well, hello. Thank you for that nice introduction. Thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. I was asked to speak tonight about the Wind, Water, and Sunlight Plan. It's also known by various other names, including the Jacobson Plan, the New York State Plan for 2030, the 2050 Plan, and also just the WWS Plan. So some people have been confused by all the different names, but it's all the same plan. This chart shows that the Energy Information Administration, the EIA, in their 2014 Annual Energy Outlook, projects a substantial increase in energy production using natural gas. You see natural gas at the top? It's growing much faster than anything else, out to 2040. Now, we know that fossil fuels are a major cause of climate change. We know that natural gas is mostly methane, and that methane is a far more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. We know that shale gas is worse than conventional natural gas when it comes to leaking and pollution. And we know that this increase in natural gas projected by the EIA is going to be shale gas. So encouraging such increase in the production and use of natural gas is just plain crazy. I think it's short-sighted and it's stupid. But as an economist, I always go back to economic impacts. There are various estimates of the economic impact of climate change. One cost puts the estimate at $271 billion per year to the US alone by 2025, and almost $2 trillion per year by the year 2100. There are other economic costs beyond climate change that are associated with fossil fuels. Some of you here may have already heard me speak on the economic impact of shale gas development. That's something I could speak on for a couple hours. But I'm going to spare you tonight, and I'll just give you the quick 5-minute summary. Despite industry rhetoric that is frequently repeated in the media, shale gas development will not be good for New York's economy. It will not create a lot of good jobs for New Yorkers, and it is likely to harm the economy in other ways. Industries that are vital to the economy of upstate New York are likely to be devastated by shale gas development. Many of our industries that are successful in upstate New York are incompatible with the industrial landscape that comes with shale gas development. They're also incompatible with the risk of water, air, and land contamination that comes with shale gas development. Our wonderful tourist spots, our agricultural products, our growing organic farm industry, enjoyment of hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation may be destroyed, to say nothing about the impressive wine and beer-making industries upstate that also rely on clean water and land. Peer-reviewed research concludes that areas with extractive industries, including shale gas development, are economically worse off in the long run, as they experience anemic economic growth, high unemployment rates, high levels of long-term poverty, relatively low levels of investment and retirement income, and low levels of economic diversity. Extractive industries are known for their short-term boom, followed by long-term bust cycles. And peer-reviewed research concludes that the negative economic consequences during the bust exceed any positive economic impacts from the short-term boom. Further research has concluded that the values of homes decline if there is even a risk of groundwater contamination. We also know that some banks are refusing to issue mortgages on property with or near gas wells, and we know that insurance companies are becoming less willing to insure against fracking-related damages. So if your buyer can't get a mortgage, or can't get homeowners insurance, or if your water's contaminated, how are you going to sell your home? It's quite likely that property values may plummet, and after property values plummet, then property tax revenue also declines. And the findings in Ohio that link earthquakes to actual fracking, not just the injection well issue, but they have linked fracking to earthquakes to actual fracking process. Knowing that will further dampen demand for homes in fracking areas and further decline the price. And I've heard of declines in home values of as much as 75% for a home near a gas well. At a recent webinar, in fact, for mortgage bankers, it was confirmed again that property values are going down in those areas. Next slide, please. And costs to communities on and near the shale will increase due to increased demands on police and fire departments and first responders. They will have to respond to more accidents, explosions, and chemical spills. And experience in Wyoming and North Dakota confirms increased crime rates and drug problems in and around communities with drilling. Road costs are another issue. I saw a report in Arkansas. It looks like the state taxpayers are getting stuck paying for over $400 million in road damage on state highways after the gas industry has damaged the roads. That's just state highways. That doesn't include local and county roads. And it's been reported in Texas that it will cost $2 billion to repair roads destroyed by the fracking industry there. A recent RAND report concluded that in Pennsylvania, each shale gas well drilled can cause about $23,000 damage to state roads, each well. Of course, both Texas and Arkansas have a severance tax, and the taxpayers are still getting stuck paying for the road damage. What will happen in New York where we don't have a severance tax? All of us, all of the taxpayers will end up paying for this road damage. In meetings with some of our leaders in Albany that I've been lucky enough to attend, I've been told that they're hoping that shale gas development in New York State would encourage manufacturers to come back to upstate New York and offer more jobs. This is short-sighted for several reasons. First of all, a report in the New York Times last year stated, manufacturing, for all its renewed promise, is likely to fall far short of the claims by industry groups that millions of new factory jobs are about to be created in the United States because of the unlocking of abundant supplies of domestic energy. Promised job gains from fracking have been slow to materialize. The reality is that the share of jobs in manufacturing has been steadily declining for decades. Increased innovation and use of technology has reduced the requirement for workers in many manufacturing industries. Next slide, please. And it's highly likely that the price of natural gas will increase as domestic gas is exported, thus exposing it to the global market where the natural gas price in some countries is as much as 5 times greater than the US domestic price. This particular chart shows comparison of some of the global prices now, or at least as of 2012 and before. The highest line on this chart, I don't know if you can tell, but it's Japan. And the lowest line is the US. Some people blame the rise in natural gas price in Japan to the Fukushima disaster, but you might note that Fukushima was in March of 2011, and the big increase in natural gas price in Japan started well before that. So the Fukushima disaster is not the only cause for the rise in price, because some people are saying price will come back down now that the nuclear plants are coming back online, and therefore natural gas demand is declining a bit in Japan. But we still have a very wide difference between the price here and the price in Asia. But beyond exports, there'll be additional upward pressure on the price of natural gas if demand for natural gas increases domestically. And this appears to be happening. There are major efforts to increase demand here. Many large buildings are converting to natural gas for heating, and there are efforts to increase the use of natural gas in transportation, including the conversion of large vehicular fleets. There are efforts to encourage energy producers to use natural gas instead of coal or nuclear in power plants. Some manufacturing industries have been expanding in the U.S. in order to take advantage of the recent low price of natural gas. Each of these efforts is likely to impose significant upward pressure on demand and therefore upward pressure on the price of natural gas. So now you have exports increasing the price, you have demand pressure increasing the price. So after many residents and businesses in New York State become newly reliant on natural gas for heating, transportation, and industrial feedstock, a substantial increase in the price of natural gas would harm all of us. And it should be noted that the supply side itself is highly uncertain. There have been vastly different estimates of recoverable shale gas in the U.S. shale plays, and in particular in the New York portion of the Marcellus play. Apparently, economically recoverable shale gas in New York State is much lower than the estimates have been showing. So if all these low estimates are correct, then there will be even further upward pressure on price due to supply constraints. In addition, what's rarely mentioned is something economists call Dutch disease. This is when, this can happen when a natural resource such as natural gas, or in the form of liquid natural gas, is exported, and great vast amounts of it are exported, so that the value of the dollar increases. So if the value of the dollar increases because of large exports of natural gas, then our domestically manufactured products become more expensive in the global marketplace, thus reducing global demand for our manufactured products. So that's a terrible negative impact on our manufacturing sector, something that many people are ignoring. And I'm not the only one stating these things, by the way. I'm not just some crazy out there economist. A number of manufacturers, most notably Dow Chemical and even Alcoa, have come out publicly exposed to substantial LNG exports. But then people always say, but what about all those jobs? I've been saying for years that job creation projections produced by the industry are vastly exaggerated. Independent research on actual job creation from shale gas development in Pennsylvania and other states have confirmed my findings. It seems that actual job creation is about 1/10 of what industry has claimed. And remember that many jobs in this industry go to transient workers from out of state. They come for a week or two and then go home to their own states for a week or two. Their families often stay in their home states. So the workers are sending a large portion of their wages back to their home states, to their families, to be spent there. That's not helping the New York economy, that's helping the economy of Oklahoma or Texas or wherever those workers are from. So in a nutshell, there are unlikely to be net economic benefits from shale gas development in New York State. The only ones who would benefit financially would be the gas companies and possibly just a few large landowners. Next slide, please. So some of the economics of the Wind, Water, and Sun Plan. The Wind, Water, and Sun Plan would result in positive economic benefits for New York State. With 100% renewable energy, the many downsides and economic costs associated with fossil fuels, and especially with shale gas development, would go away. We estimated in the plan that in New York State alone, the current fossil fuel infrastructure causes about 4,000 annual premature deaths, which together with other air pollution damages such as illness and the resulting lost time from work and school cost the state about $36.4 billion per year. That's about 3% of the state's GDP. The average energy savings per person in 2050 will be $2,100 just for annual energy. And the health and cost savings per person in 2050 would be $5,100. That's per person. Future costs are a concern. It's projected that by 2030, natural gas prices will increase by at least 19 to 37%, and probably more, and gasoline price may increase by around 109%. Fuel, in the form of wind, water, and sunlight, used in a renewable energy system will always have a cost of zero. New York State should find more ways to encourage manufacturers of solar panels and wind turbines to locate in New York. As I mentioned, I travel around the state talking on this issue, and once when I was in a fairly large union hall, a lot of union members came from various unions, and they were very intrigued, very interested, and they said the jobs are great during the installation of this equipment, but they really wish that more manufacturers would locate here because the manufacturing jobs are going to help even more with jobs because it'll be more continual jobs for these people. So I think we need incentives for that, and that really rarely gets mentioned. Next slide, please. Job creation. The Wind, Water, and Sun study estimated that well over 200,000 jobs will be created during construction of the renewable energy infrastructure and well over 100,000 permanent annual jobs thereafter for energy production alone. These are 40-year jobs, or the number of jobs where a person is employed for 40 consecutive years. This doesn't include jobs created from retrofits and conservation in homes and businesses, and it doesn't include the additional jobs associated with the enhancement of the transmission system and with the conversion to electric and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, electricity-based appliances for home heating and cooling, and electricity and hydrogen use for some heating and high-temperature industrial processes. So the job creation in reality will be much larger than these numbers. And the number of permanent annual jobs created by the plan will significantly exceed the number of jobs lost in the current fossil fuel infrastructure. There are about 43,000 total current jobs in the utility industry and all mining, including all natural resources. So that 43,000 is a generous number as well. The numbers to be created from this renewable energy type of a plan would far exceed jobs lost in the fossil fuel industries. Next slide, please. So there are a number of ways that the 100% conversion to wind, water, and sun would help New York's economy. Jobs in the renewable energy industry are more labor intensive than in the fossil fuel industries. For every $1 million spent on renewable energy development, there are almost three times more jobs created than for every $1 million spent on fossil fuel development. Energy created from wind, water, and sunlight create many jobs for New Yorkers, unlike shale gas development that imports many of its workers from other states, as I've described. The jobs that will be created under this plan will require a wide range of skills and education levels. We are lucky in New York State to have many colleges and universities where innovation and research take place. More of that can be channeled toward renewables. We also have many bright people with entrepreneurial skills. We have many experienced workers who can work with their hands. There will be jobs created in urban areas and in rural areas. There will be jobs for engineers and scientists. There will be jobs for contractors, builders, and general home repair workers for installation work, and jobs for many others in retrofitting homes and buildings for energy conservation. And these jobs will have indirect and induced multiplier impacts, creating jobs in other industries that provide supplies and services to these workers and to the renewable energy industry itself. If New York transforms to a renewable infrastructure, it will protect our other vital industries that could be devastated by shale gas development. Again, these industries include tourism, agriculture, organic farming, hunting, fishing, outdoor recreation, winemaking, beer making, you get the picture. All of these industries can coexist and thrive happily along with renewable energy development, not so with shale gas development. Renewable energy development will not experience the same level of boom and bust that is typical of extractive industries. And dollars spent will stay in the state. New Yorkers will be earning the wages, and the wind, water, and solar energy is produced in New York State with machinery and equipment that can be produced and maintained in New York, very unlike the shale gas industry where most of the equipment, supplies, and contractors come from other states, such as Texas. And with the wind, water, and sun plan, the real estate market and property tax revenues would likely benefit. Rooftop PV and solar thermal technology can increase home values. And a recent study in Michigan showed that property values increased only in counties with wind farms. I'm not so sure that that's causality or just a coincidence, but it was kind of interesting. Another study referenced in the Wind, Water, and Sun paper found that wind farms within 10 miles of residential properties in 9 states found no effect on property values. And the National Association of Realtors issued a summary of about a half dozen research papers on the subject, most of which found that wind farms have no impact on property values. I know a lot of people complain about wind farms and the impact on their property values, but the research shows that it does not impact property values. Next slide, please. So New York State's conversion to a wind, water, and solar energy infrastructure will reduce air pollution. It will prevent water and land contamination. It will reduce health costs associated with mortality and morbidity. It will protect other important industries. It will protect, and in some cases even increase, property values. It will improve national security. It will set an example for other states to work toward reducing the cost of global warming. And it will create many jobs, jobs for New Yorkers. New York must begin moving to the wind, water, and sun plan, or an equivalent plan, right away. Supporters of shale gas development claim that it's needed as a bridge fuel. Don't be fooled by this claim. Natural gas is not a bridge fuel. Aspen Environmental Group estimated that to convert the entire coal infrastructure to natural gas would cost on the order of $700 billion. I don't think that utilities would be willing to invest this kind of money, and I don't think that financial institutions would be willing to provide financing at this level if they were really viewing natural gas as just a short-term bridge fuel. Oh, and by the way, when I discussed that at a Wall Street event, some industry people told me they thought that $700 billion sounds far too low for such a conversion. We must immediately stop adding expensive infrastructure to accommodate fossil fuels. A new pipeline or natural gas power plant has a lifespan of around 30 to 50 years. So in order to gain high amounts of renewable energy in the future, we must insist on less development of fossil fuel infrastructure immediately. We must not allow new natural gas power plants. We must not allow any new gas pipelines or compressor stations in New York, and we must not allow new gas storage facilities or LNG export terminals.